The world of Arnor is changed. Founded by Elendil, Arnor was a place of greatness, where the wisdom of kings was matched by the sight of the Palantiri, seeing stones of great power. Elendil forged the alliance with Gil-galad and the elves of Lindon, who together, in the Second Age, defeated the Dark Lord Sauron. But, deep in the heart of Mount Doom, the alliance failed, and Isildur led humanity down a different, darker path. Many centuries have passed, and through folly and civil war, much that once was is lost. Arnor stands divided into 3 kingdoms: Arthedain, Cardolan, and Rhudaur. We, the elves, do not interfere. We are but the keepers of the shards of Narsil, a reminder of the alliance that remains as broken as the sword. Now there are rumors of a new power rising in the north, whispers of a sorcerer king who has subjugated the land of Angmar under his iron crown. Orcs and trolls roam the Etten moors, and there is talk of darker things. There is still hope. King Arvidui of Arthedain seeks to reunite the 3 kingdoms, but he is not the hope of which I speak. It is of heroes whose names are not yet known, whose deeds cannot change the past, but may yet shape the fortunes of those yet to come.
Welcome to the TPK
Hello.
Roleplay.
Oh, yeah, hello. Welcome to TPK Roleplay. I'm your lore master tonight, Phzoul, and this is our second session of our One Ring campaign, the Shadow Over Arnor. If you were not here last week, this adventure actually takes place in the Third Age, which is the same age as the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. However, it's about 900 years prior to the birth of Bilbo Baggins. But don't worry, there's going to be all kinds of familiar locations. I think we'll see Amon-Sul tonight, see a Palantir. We might see a few more sinister things. We're actually using the recently published One Ring rules, second edition by Free League. As for content warnings, listen, if you're familiar with me, you know I use film and TV as my guide when it comes to kind of putting together these adventures. So if you were cool watching The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, then you'll have no issues with this adventure. I should point out that according to the rules, a fellowship or the group of adventurers normally has a patron. So that could be like a wizard or a king. And in this case, you're going to be the patron, so chat. So last week, we actually had some participation from chat. All of the characters, for example, got an extra virtue, which is a bit of a permanent reward. They got to meet Radagast, the wizard, who offered them 2 rabbits that was kind of completely out of the left field, kind of like a good table. They got 2 rabbits, Omar and Din, that are basically having the travel time as they move across Middle-earth. So if you want to get involved, you can make some donations using bits. You could do things like provide 100 bits, provide healing, give them extra hope. There's some nasty things you can do, and in fact, I think it was Dev Develops last week that increased the threat level of the Eye of Angmar. So what that is that there's this there's a rating or a stat that I keep track of, and the target number is 20. And if the Eye of Angmar rating reaches 20, that means the characters have been noticed by the enemy, and the enemy will send minions or a hunt to basically hunt them down. I should point out so if they hit 20, Angmar is going to pay attention to them. They are currently sitting at 15, so they really only have 5 points before they trigger a hunt. Other than that, You could also make a donation to create some special encounters, special NPCs, and like I mentioned last week with Radagast, those NPCs will be reoccurring. So that's it for me. Unfortunately tonight, Kaiya can't join us, but the rest of our amazing cast is here. So why don't I throw it over to them and they can introduce themselves, and then we will dive right into Middle Earth. So go ahead. I guess, Luca, might as well start with you.
Hi, I'm Lukalock, and I am playing Dania of Arthedain. Down to Fenja.
Hello everyone, it's me, CorndoggMcGraw, and I am playing Fenja, one of Duron's folk.
Want to do my best Kaiya impression? No. I'm Harrison, and I'm playing Alatar the Blue.
Awesome, thank you. Listen, if you want to do an impression, go ahead. But
No, because she's my DM in another game, and I will find I have permanent disadvantage forever.
Yes, our fellowship is definitely not as bright without her light presence. But there's something very interesting in store for Celebrian when she returns in 2 weeks. So where we left off, I'll actually drag you over to roll 20 here. We left off at the Angle Falls, where you thwarted a plot from Angmar, who sent forth orcs with a swarm of Mordor rats. They descended upon the Rhudaur village of Ian Merhad, which was near the last bridge, and everyone in it was slain by plague. Your group put it to the torch, and knowing that to the south lied the great city of Tharbad, which is the capital of Cardalon, you decided to give pursuit. So led by Radagast's rabbits, Omar and Din, you were able to overtake the orcs and defeat them. Now you managed to destroy most of the rat horde, but some went over the falls and quite impossibly could make their way downriver to Tharbad. So I believe where we left off is the group was at a point of where you're trying to make a decision. You could either follow the river down towards Tharbad, and I'll drag you up to the map here just so you can see where you're at. So you're at the angle, which is where the two rivers here meet, and Tharbad is right here. Also, to a bit to the north west of your position is Weathertop, or Amon-Sul, and the last bridge is where that was the last point where you left the great east-west road, and so you're right here. So as you're in the aftermath of this, you're kind of probably gathered up all the corpses of the rats and the orcs and set them to fire. You'll note that Celebrian is her mind is not here. She's in deep contemplation. And while some of you might be thinking of south, her gaze is fixated north. So she'll just stand to the side and wait for the group to discuss. The two rabbits, they will essentially jump up and down, maybe push each other around a bit, waiting for you to make a decision.
I would like to pursue the rest of those rats before they reach the city.
Celebrian turns and she'll say, I believe that is I'm going to have to do the impression. I believe that is a wise choice. But I am afraid that while my hope goes with you, I cannot. Something draws me north. I'm not sure what, but it weighs heavy on my heart. I will rejoin you either at Amon-Sul or Bree.
Okay. I will ride south in pursuit of the rats.
If for
Will
some
the rest of you join me?
Sure.
I think that would be best.
The rats will look. The rabbits will look at each other. You dare call them a rat? They'll be really ticked off. Omar and Dip, they'll kind of look at each other. They're chittering back and forth, You can't quite, well, Alatar, you can understand them, but nobody else really can. But they're basically going back and forth like, which way should we go? I don't know. Do we have a choice? Well, of course we have a choice. We're not, we're not beholden to them. They're not kings. And he goes, yes, but one's a wizard. But we're beholden to another wizard. So they're just literally going back and forth to the point where they basically start pushing each other back and forth and smacking each other with their paws.
That's quite enough of that out of a pair of you.
They'll both immediately stop and stand at attention.
Diff.
He just kind of he gives a semi-salute.
Can I trust you to take care of the good lady Celebrian?
They actually look at each other like you're speaking, you're speaking the tongue of Mordor. They like to separate. Well, we've never separated.
If you have no desire to, then you can both go with her if you wish.
Dith wouldn't know what to do. He couldn't find his way out of a burrow without me. He goes, that's not true. I absolutely could find my way out of the burrow. There's only one direction out. Oh, it was a figure of speech. He goes, and they start pushing each other again.
Enough. You may find that sometimes separated helps you better reflect on the strength and the bonds that you share.
Well, they'll obey. They'll well, if we must. But how do we decide who goes north and who goes south?
I just have.
Oh. Well then.
Saves you the hassle. We haven't the time to be arguing.
So they will give their, they'll, instead of actually fighting, which they're known to do, they will give each other a hug, and one of them travels north with Celebrian, and the other travels south along the river with your group.
I will not sneak, one who's going to be heading north, I'll make sure he's eating his fill from my
okay.
pat before he goes.
Yeah. He'll be quite happy at that prospect. So your group can travel south along the river. So just going back to the map, it will probably take with the rabbit, the time is half, but it still probably takes a good couple of days to get to Tharbad. What so Dania, you probably have been to Tharbad on a number of occasions. It is essentially a merchant city. So if you were to sail south to Gondor, for example, you wouldn't sail out of the Grey Havens. You would sail out of Tharbad. So most of the shipping going to and from the north comes through this city on the river. So there's a bit of a image of it there. So as you go south, does anyone wish to do on the journey? Does anyone wish to do anything in particular before we arrive? Or
I am just riding with haste, trying to track the direction of the rats as best as possible.
So the rats went over the falls. So whether or not they survived is questionable.
But there's no sign of them coming up from the water.
Yeah. So the water would have carried them. So you can ride at haste with one eye on the river. You don't see any initial signs of them as you're going along. But of course, the river it's quite a large river. I mean, it gets to a point where ships can sail on it. But at the very least, you know that there's a great bridge that crosses it into the city. So going from the north side of the river to the south, you know that at that bridge is where the rat, if there's corpses or they're alive, they'll get caught up there. At the very least, you'll be able to inform the guard the guards at Tharbad to keep a lookout. So does anyone? So if you did take any endurance damage, endurance is kind of like after a short rest. I'm assuming you would unless you're saying like you're not even resting, you're riding like till you're exhausted. I'm assuming you would get some short rest. So any of you took endurance damage, you can recover that. And I will allow you to recover 1 hope. You all did gain an extra hope, just a reminder last week from chat. So you'll gain an extra hope. And Alatar, assuming that you're smoking some pipe weed, you'll actually double the hope. So you'll gain 2.
Excellent. Only health benefits from smoking, as we all know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's just it's really hope is kind of a representation of your mental health, I guess, versus physical health. So while you feel restored in mind, good thing you're a Maiar, otherwise the smoke might be killing your lungs. So after a couple of days, without incident, you can arrive at some people call it the City of Princes. So whereas Arthedain has a king, Tharbad has kind of merchant princes, a council of them, who oversee things. Dania, I would say in this, you probably haven't spent a lot of time here. I would say one of the things that has always been a rift between Cardolan and Arthedain is that Arthedain has 3 Palantiri and Cardolan has none. And Cardolan has always felt that they should have been shared. But you arrive at the Great Bridge. It's like the old London Bridge. The bridge actually has buildings on it. So when you arrive at the Great Bridge, you can ride across. It's kind of an open city, so you can literally just ride in. There's guards, but this city is always busy. Ships coming and going, merchants. You just get onto the bridge, and there are merchants coming from the left, from the right, trying to sell their wares.
I will ride straight up to a guard and dismount quickly.
Yep.
I need to speak with your captain.
He goes, yes. Just a quick question. Would you carry kind of the heraldry of Arthedain? Like, would you actually have would your horse have the livery over it? Which,
yeah, definitely.
Recognize that you're from Arthedain. You probably have a slightly different accent. But he doesn't quite, he would, unless you announce yourself, he wouldn't quite know who you are. He would say, you've traveled from the north.
I ride from the Angle. There are plague rats headed for this city.
Angle. He will, his look grows serious, and he will lead you across the bridge. But he leads you to a great hall. Not necessarily what you would think maybe as a guard captain. You probably recognize it as the seat of the Merchant Council here.
Oh, okay.
You'll be brought inside. And the thing about Cardolan, and by the way, remember that dagger your brother gave you?
Mm-hmm.
Came from here. The markets are full of Cardolan, or Tharbad prides itself on trying to bring in exotic goods, and you'll see all manner of weapons, armor, spices, items. But one of the things that you'll note about Cardolan is that show is more important than function, right? So essentially you see a lot of things which look nice, but maybe are not necessarily as designed as well as they could be. And the Great Hall is no different than the rest of the city. The council chamber where the merchant princes meet, when they're not meeting, it's a market. So essentially there's vendors and stuff, and you'll be asked to just stay and wait until someone comes to see you. Okay. So there's a wonder of sights and sounds. So as you're waiting, are you going to stay in one spot? Are you going to wander? Oh, and the rat. So sorry, which one came with you, Dith or Omar? Omar. Okay.
And I'd offer Omar a spot inside my robe whenever we're inside if he doesn't want to be walking around.
He's more than happy to do that until he spots a vegetable vendor, and then as you're sitting there, you'll see his head pop up, and he grabs it and he starts gnawing on a carrot. So
Dania is staying still where she is, but she's gonna shift almost impatiently on her feet.
Yeah. You'll note that Miriam is likewise, even though the battle is days past. Miriam, who, for the sake of chat, just a reminder, is Dania's bodyguard, so to speak. She really hasn't let down her guard. You can see, she still keeps her hand close to her sword. And Fenja, you might find the odors of this market overwhelming somewhat, but but it's definitely a hustle and bustle. You're not impressed, I'll tell you. You are not impressed by the metalwork here, or the leatherwork. Do you work in both leather and metal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So you're
Crafting is my favorite thing.
So after waiting for what seems like a long time, given the urgency of your business, 3 people will approach. The man in the center, he'll step forward, and he is like, "Welcome." And when he looks at you, Dania, he's like, "Welcome, Dania of Arthedain. I was not notified in advance of your arrival. Of course, we are honored. I am Bathelred, one of the merchant princes."
I will just bow my head politely. I had not planned on arriving in your city. However, we came here in pursuit of some plague rats.
Plague rats.
They
I
rode
see.
the river in this direction, and I am worried they have entered the city.
Forgive me if I find it amusing that a princess is now doing the job of a rat catcher.
They destroyed, I'm sorry, GM, what was the name of the city again?
Merhad, the village, yeah.
They destroyed the village of Merhad to the north. I do not think this is a laughing matter.
I see. Very well. He has an aide with him. He will say, "Alert the watch captain and the harbor master. These rats, they come by water?"
Yes. I did not see any tracks that they came up on the bank, at least where I had ridden.
As you can see, the cleanliness of our markets, there is a reason for this. We take good care of our city, and we have rat catchers of our own. I'll see to it that they're alerted, of course. Allow me to introduce you. This is my son, Farstan, and another arrival who came here by ship just this morning. And as he gestures towards the man called Targon, you can see he's wearing livery of Gondor. So he is not from Cardalon at all. He'll step forward. Probably his eyes probably wouldn't leave you, Dania. He steps forward and he will do a knightly bow. He's obviously a knight, and he will say, "I served with your mother at Minas Ithil." As he kind of nods, he says, "I imagine these are dark days for her, but she was the fiercest fighter I've ever known. My sword is yours, my lady. I'm on my way to Fornost at your father's request. Gondor received his invitation via the Palantir, and the stewards sent me as emissary. I volunteered, in fact."
It is an honor to meet you, sir. It is dark times for my mother, indeed. I'm glad you will be there to aid.
And you can see, no need to make an insight roll or anything. You can see that that pains him. Obviously, his king is dead. On to hear your grandfather was the king that he served. But so you see that the pain that he feels runs deep. So he'll take a step back, and Bathelred, he'll say, "Iran Mahad destroyed, you say? I must admit, the news out of Rhudaur of late is grim. Our merchants no longer feel safe traveling those lands. And now orcs and rats bring ruin and pestilence to our land. How, I wonder, has Angmar reached so far south? Surely the Palantir at Amon-Sul should have seen this. As I've said before, if perhaps we had had our own, we could have protected ourselves from this threat." He looks towards you. They're not quite sure what to make of you, Alatar, but for the first time, he notices Fenja, and he will say, "Are you from Khazad-dûm?"
Perhaps. Just like scanning him up and down.
He kind of smirks and he goes, You do not know where you are from. How odd.
I know where I'm from.
Oh, I see. Don't worry, my dwarven friend. You're welcome here. In fact, we lament that we do not see more of the folk of Duron at our markets, and more of their smiths in our forges, and of course more of your mithril. I hear word has reached far and wide that Duron the Sixth possesses a great supply of it.
You'll have to take that up with him.
I see you are a woman of few words. Well, he'll turn to you. You are a princess of Arthedain is amongst us. Surely you will be given the finest quarters, and we'll have a great feast prepared in your honor. Now, if you would come this way.
Of course.
So he will walk. He starts walking along, leading your group towards a tower where there's some fine quarters. He'll fall back to walk beside you, Alatar, and he'll say, "You have the trappings of a wizard, yet you are not Gandalf or Saruman."
I am neither Mithrandir or Kuruma, which is true.
And who are you, my friend?
Alatar.
Alatar. That name is not familiar with me, but you are one of Saruman's. You are one of Saruman's wizards.
I am indeed. There are 5 of us.
Then I would have counsel with you after you've had a chance to rest.
I feel rested enough now. I am happy to speak to you whenever.
Of course, and you realize that kind of he was kind of wanting the time, but he's like, of course. Well,
I know.
Let me see that you're settled. So he will. When you get to the tower, your rooms are lavishly, silk curtains and bed sheets, like they're lavish. You can't see the beds for the number of pillows on them. So how you react to that is up to you. I should note, Dania, even though that you're a princess, Arthedain is a bit more, it's not like that. It's you would have a nice furnishings, good quality, but they're not frivolous. I wouldn't imagine, but that's up to you. I guess you can decide what kind of room you
I
want.
would assume it would be it's like that furniture that's lasted centuries. It's high quality in the, like, it's sturdily made, but not overly showy.
And Fenja, before someone comes in, like a couple of servants will come in and prepare things. Before they leave, they'll take like a bottle of perfume with the sprayer, and they'll just spray it in the air, just to make the place smell fresh.
No, enough of that.
And they will scurry out. So Dania, you guys are not restricted to stay here. You can wander, but Dania, you and Fenja, you'll be left. Balthared will leave you to rest and freshen up. He will also note that if you require a gown for the evening, one will be provided, of course, one of the finest. And then he will leave the 2 of you to your own devices as he heads off to speak with Alatar.
Can I say that before the 3 of us part ways, I would openly, in front of Balthared, say to the others, I know we came here very much on an impulse. When you are both ready for us to head about our business and return to our endeavors, I'm ready to leave this place at any time, as soon as suits you.
You speak of returning to Fornhurst.
Let us and my companions to deliberate on and let me know. I'm merely
then it probably
a guide to them.
My son and a knight from Gondor accompany you. They are responding to your father's invitation, after all, and my son will represent the Merchant Council.
All matters to be discussed. You said you sought counsel.
Yes, and he will walk with you, and he'll walk a good distance without saying much other than pleasantries, simply because he wants to put some distance between you and Dania and Fenja. He wants what he says is for you. It's for you alone. So he'll actually. So once he gets kind of out by the markets, maybe walking through some gardens, and he will say, "I know why Arvidui is calling this gathering. I mean, it's obvious. With Ondahar dead, he wants to unite the lands and return Aranor to its former glory. I'm here to tell you that the princes of Tharbad are prepared to accept that, but not without concessions. You understand? The first would be moving one of the seeing stones to this city. The recent events seems to make that of even greater urgency. But upon seeing the lovely Dania of Arthedain, it has, well, forgive me if I'm not inclined to also seek an elevation of my own house. Farstan is unmarried and Dania is a rare beauty. I would see them perhaps joined. Perhaps a thought you could put into Arvindui's ear on my behalf. I mean, the words of wizards are trusted, are they not? Don't you think that would be good for the realm?
I think that's all quite beyond the scope. You make many assumptions. Such a thought. If your son is as honorable and as suitable as you say, that is perhaps a thought he should put into the lady's head himself, as opposed to me going via her father, don't you think?
He'll laugh and he goes, it is not of love that I speak. It is of a political alliance for mutual gain. I am afraid honor has nothing to do with it. It's if Arvendui wants to unite the land, have to concede some things. Don't you agree?
You seem to have given this a great deal of thought, even before our unexpected arrival.
Of course, Cardalon must gain something from this, other than having to pay taxes and bend the knee to a king. I mean, something must be gained. Think about it, wizard. I know
some would say that authority is not given to you to deny the return of the kingdom. You are a young man, I know, but you've clearly had some thought on this for some time.
I am a man who recognizes opportunity when he sees it.
You
Like
smoke?
You say, do you smoke? He goes, yes, of course. Are you offering him some pipe weed?
I will.
Okay. He will take a look at it. He kind of shrugs his nose. He goes, this is the hobbit's weed. He goes, Not quite as refined, but a fair number here like it for its strength. And he'll take it. He'll take a puff of it. He goes, well, I will not delay you any longer, wizard, but think on my words. If it is in everyone's best interest to unite the land, then all things should be considered. I at least hope you would agree to that.
I will consider some of your words. I do think there is merit to the idea of Tharbad not having a Palantir, but such a thing is not to be used lightly. Who would preside over it? Will want to be here? Where would it be housed?
Of course. Trivial.
No, these are direct questions I am asking you, Wilfred.
Those are details.
As a custodian of a town who has had these aspirations in mind, I find it unlikely that you are not unaware of the risks and the threats and the danger of such a thing. It is not simply some orb to be pondered. It is a magnet for many dark things.
Well, I am very much aware that without Palantir, we did not see this threat coming, and that our Vendui either and the Palantir at Amon-Sul either didn't see it or chose not to act, both of which are very disturbing. I see, Wizard, that you will take more convincing. I know that the wealth that I can offer means nothing to you, but know that I am of a mind to see my son and Dania wed. Your support will not change that. Very well. I hope you find your quarters suiting. I will see you later at the feast.
Climb my head and turn on my heel and start heading back.
Okay. Dania and Fenja, you're in your rooms, but what do you do?
I will, upon arriving in our rooms, I'm immediately going to turn to Fenja. I would like to go down to the river. Would you join me?
Yes, this place smells awful.
I have no care for the finery or any dinner that they plan on having. I am worried of what will happen should those rats make it onto the streets.
Right. I'm just gonna wipe off the orc guts real quick. And then, yes, down to the river.
Okay. As you can make your way down to the river, the docks, there's so much activity, ships coming and going, cargo being loaded on. When you get there, you can see that there are some, there are guards, but they seem to be mostly preoccupied. They're more preoccupied with making sure that goods are inspected and the proper taxes are levied than anything else. You don't initially see anybody that looks like they're searching for rats. So are the two of you just going to kind of walk, like do your own search, like walk along the the harbor? Okay.
I think while Dania searches that, I'm just gonna look at the people not looking at it, and I'm just gonna start offering some kind of dirty looks. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We gave you a warning. So I'm curious as to why no one else besides Dania is looking for these rats. I'll also help look for rats, but really I'm just disappointed in men.
Well, you're actually going to approach one of these inspectors or guards? And
I think when we pass one, I would definitely be like, so what are you doing about the rats?
Oh, the rats. What are you talking about?
And I'll just look up to Dania. We tracked a bunch of rats here that were being herded this direction by orcs.
Word should have been passed to you. Plague rats have potentially entered the city from the river.
Perhaps it hasn't passed through administration yet. We should be received shortly, I'm certain, if it is of importance. Now, I have some cargo I need to inspect.
Fenja, I believe we are on our own here.
It's like they don't even care.
I don't believe they do.
They are, so a voice from behind you says they are preoccupied with wealth and other things. Might I be of assistance? And you turn and you can see that it's Targan from Gondor. May I help in the search?
Glad to have you join us, Targan. Yes, we are alone in our endeavors to prevent the plague hitting this city.
So you can search along the docks, looking for rats here and there. Will I get you to make a roll? Maybe we'll do so underneath wits. You'll see that there's something called scan. Let's scan or explore. You can pick either one. So just a reminder, you're going to roll a die 12. and you're going to roll a number of die 6s equal to the pips, and your target number is basically the TN of your wits. And if you have the square box beside it filled in, if it's favored, you're going to roll 2 die 12 and take the highest.
Is it just Dania, or am I also
No, you
able to?
both make the roll.
So just one. I'm not favored, so just the
Good
one
roll.
d12.
Plus a
Oh,
number.
no.
Would you roll the Sauron, the 11?
No, I rolled a 2.
Oh, 2. Okay, that's not as bad as the Sauron. So.
The curse continues. And do I add anything for d6?
Yeah. How many points do you have beside?
Just one.
Let's
pip.
say hope. Scan. So, I would say you're gonna add 1d6.
Okay.
So
A 4.
So you didn't quite. So you're looking. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of place where the rats could hide. And one of the problems is the dock goes out into the river, so they could be underneath it. What did you roll,
Yeah.
Fenja?
16.
Nice. Okay, that's actually that you should have passed. I think that's a pass under any.
Oh yeah, my target number's 8. It's half of that.
So as you're searching around the area, you can actually see the body of a Mordor rat kind of floating in the water, bumping up against one of the ships. And sorry, go ahead. But Targon, he immediately, as soon as you pointed out, he immediately goes into action. He grabs one of those long poles, like a boating hook on the end, and gets a hold of it. And we'll say that over the next couple of hours, we'll say that the three of you managed to find and fish out 4 of these Mordor rats. They're all dead. They all died going over the falls or were drowned in the river. But you've managed to get a pile of them, and you're fairly certain that you've done a pretty good search. You're a bit tired. It's some hard work. Sometimes, even Targon, at one point, one of the rats was out of reach of the hook underneath kind of a dock. He went, he had to wade into the water and bring it out. So you get the impression that despite the fact that he has really fine armor, he's a knight. In fact, he's a knight of the Citadel, so he has guarded the white tree. But he's not afraid to, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, and he does what he needs to do in order to kind of accomplish the mission. But he, as you're doing this over the couple of hours, he will tell us tale. He's going to tell the story of Furiel, which is your mother, Dania, and Shugdal. So he will say, I'm sure that you are familiar with the tale, but perhaps someone besides your mother should tell it. I was there.
I would love to hear it from a different point of view.
He goes, your grandfather, the king, sent your mother to Minas Ithil for a season. He wanted her to learn leadership. She was put in charge of a company of soldiers, and I was one of them. I remember that morning. It was a red sky, and we were sent to patrol the rocky passes into Mordor. Unknown to us, Shugdal, a great general amongst the Orcs, was planning an attack on Minas Ithil. He was personally inspecting those same passes, and we came upon him. And his face will grow, will grow saddened for a moment. He's like, the fighting was hard, and our numbers were too few. Most of the company was slain. In the end, only your mother and I stood against 20, including Shugdal, who decided to end us personally. So he took a great spear from one of his lieutenants and advanced upon us. I stepped forward, but Furiel placed her hand on my shoulder and ordered me to stay back. With her sword drawn, she faced this giant of an orc, so tall that even striking upward, your mother's sword could barely reach his chin. And as Shugdal came at her, she retreated again and again until finally A wall of stone was at her back, and Shugdal struck, his spear aimed at her heart. But your mother was quick, and the spear missed, its point driven deep into the stone. Using the shaft as a step, she leapt upward, driving her sword through Shugdal's eye. Wounded, he fled, the passes echoing with his cries of pain and rage. Even though we were still outnumbered, seeing their general defeated, it broke the Orcs' will. They fled back into Mordor, and the attack never came. She was married the next summer. Last time I saw her was at the wedding at Minas Tirith. And he just falls silent.
Thank you for sharing your tale.
Indeed. It'll be an honor to see her again. And he'll do a bow.
What was the vibe from him as he was telling that story about my mother?
Yeah, does he have a crush?
Like, was he a little misty-eyed looking into the past?
Let's see here. Insight. So give me an insight roll, which is under heart. I'll give you an advantage on this. So you're going to roll 2 die 12, take the highest. Remember, a 12, it's just an automatic success. Doesn't really matter what else happened, what else you roll. An 11 is not a failure, but it just means the die 12 counts as 0.
4 and a 2. Why am I rolling so bad lately? And then just the die 6 is a 3. So.
Listen. Sometimes GMs ask people. I'm not too proud to admit this. Sometimes GMs ask characters to make rolls, and they want them to succeed. In which, why did the GM even bother asking? And this is one of those. This is one of those cases. So I'm going to put down that you failed. And what I might do with that is, if I fail a roll, maybe I'll just give myself a re-roll or something. Yeah, you sense. You sense a longing to be back there those days at Minas Tirith.
Okay. There was no particular fondness or softness in his voice when he was talking about...
For sure, there was.
Okay, yeah, all right. Okay.
So...
Dude has a crush on my mom.
So he will escort you. So the guards will come. They'll take care of the rats. They'll burn them, and you go back feeling good that you've saved that you've kind of preserved Tharbad from perhaps sharing the same fate as Ianmar had. When you arrive, you'll find Alatar has returned. What he did over the last couple of hours, I'm not sure. Maybe he sat and watched the city smoking his pipe, but he is there when you arrive.
I would have spoken at length with Omar and just caught up about how Radagast is, what he's been up to, the state of his mind.
Yeah. And Omar is like he is amazed at the city, and he goes, there are turnips and carrots and cabbage and endless, more than you could eat in a lifetime, all in one place. Can you believe it? Why didn't I know such places exist? Wait, am I dead? Oh, I'm dead, and I've gone to the Undying Lands.
You are not in the Undying Lands. Tell me what it is you'd like from the market, and I will procure it for you later, as we set off.
I believe I just did.
But you will be hungry again, believe it or not.
Oh, Dith is going to be so angry when I tell him.
And we will be leaving here
I bet
sooner rather than later.
I bet all he has to eat are sour berries found in shrub brushes along the road, whereas I get to feast. I'm going to rub his tail in it.
Before you do so, consider our journey may have hardships that his does not. With the good may come the bad.
He doesn't quite.
So best not gloat.
He looks around at the luxury. He doesn't quite believe. Are you in your room type thing? Oh, he's absolutely on top of the pile of pillows on the bed. Yeah, he looks around. He doesn't quite believe it. but you're a wizard.
I would try and gather enough information from him that I could perhaps confirm that maybe Radagast has lost sight of our calling and our purpose. But I am...
Is that he says he's quite certain that Radagast is... Radagast went to visit the Eagles to cheer himself up. He was saddened by the fact that Saruman did not see him worthy enough to be invited to the council at Rivendell. Why he summoned you all the way from the east. And you're blue.
I've wondered that myself as I was deep in my own business, and it was a great deal of travel. I can only think that Kuramo, deep down, does see value in what Ewendil is doing, his good work in the woods, bolstering the land.
Well, he feels good about that, and he'll say, and the Eagles will always cheer him up. So you will hear outside in the hall that Dania and Fenja have returned.
I will go to greet them.
Okay.
Wizard, I believe we tracked down any plague rats that made it this far.
We got 4 of them, and I just hoist them up. Because I definitely
have we not
I'm carrying them around like a fucking weirdo.
Oh.
By their tails, 2 in one hand, 2 in the other.
Have they been burned by this point?
Well, we didn't have a fire at the river. We've got a fire in our room.
You're going to burn them in the fireplace in your room?
No, I actually had something more twisted thought up.
Oh, okay.
But we'll wait.
Okay. Keep those separate to anything else, Fenja. We do not want to travel here to prevent plague and then carry it into the Great Hall ourselves.
Okay.
So, does anyone wish to do anything before the feast?
I would definitely like to speak with them both about my conversation with...
Yep.
It's gone off the screen, but I think the art is C.D. Quintus from Spartacus, isn't it? Is Bafford? what was his name?
It's Bathelred. Here,
Bathelred, yeah. The steward had many suggestions and ideas and ambitions, it would seem, put into thought long before our arrival.
I'm not surprised. What ambitions does he have?
Some of his requests are dangerous, although understandable. He wishes for a Palantir to be situated here, which makes sense. Others, I am less interested or suited to discussing. A very old-fashioned betrothal between yourself and his son, which he wished for me to petition your father with. That is the extent of my involvement in that matter. But I have relayed the interest to you as a fact, and now I shall be involved no more. A Palantir is a request much more suited to my interests.
I know nothing of this Farstan, but I will have to discuss it with my father. I don't know that there was ever any intention to align with the merchants.
Yeah, could you imagine getting wedding gifts like this blanket? And it's like, you know those when you go to people's houses and you stay in their guest room and they have that nice fancy blanket that's really shiny but also terrible on top? It's that Fenja just pulls off the bed and puts the rats in and then rolls it up like a sleeping bag with the rats inside of it. Okay. This is happening while you guys are talking. Like, just dealing with the rats.
And
He's just gonna watch that and not comment on it.
So, gowns, fine gowns will be delivered, whether you wear them or not.
I will not
No.
change into them. However, I will wash up and polish my gear so that I am clean and polished going down to the...
And Fenja, a gown will also arrive for you, and the servant will inform you. The seamstress worked all afternoon to shorten up the length. I hope it is suitable. And they'll just leave it folded on your bed, as they bow and depart.
I'll take a nice bath,
Okay.
braid my hair, and put the dress on, and just look as uncomfortable as possible, being out of armor or leather, like leather metalworking gear.
All right. And
when you come out of your room, I'll just... Fenja, you look lovely. Would you like to put your armor on top?
It itches in my armpits. And you just see her like the whole time that you're standing there, she's just trying to adjust to like make space for her back in this dress for humans.
If you had less weapons hidden underneath the bodice, I think it would be less itchy.
We don't know what could happen at dinner. They didn't even clean up the rats.
This is a fair point.
so, you can, you can go. You can go to the feast. The abundance of food is either amazing or sickening. It's up for you to decide. But there's all manner of bird and beast and fruit and vegetables and some things that you don't that you're certain they're definitely not from the north, and kind of rare exotic things that they're kind of putting out just to impress you, just for your benefit. It's full of basically the nobility of Cardalon or of Tharbad, which is primarily the merchant houses. High level, wealthy merchants, their families, maybe some dignitaries. It's all rather, I mean, Dania, you've probably attended Lord's dinners, many of them, even in Arthedain, they have them. So in this case, it's similar to that. They're not completely unpleasant, but you definitely get the feeling that these people are somewhat out of touch with what's going on outside of their city.
I feel much more at ease here than I did at Rivendell, where I'm surrounded by creatures out of lore. So this is just very much run-of-the-mill sort of Lord's dinner, everyone trying to impress. So I will.
Yeah, and they're all very courteous, polite when they each of them bows when they meet you. So you're shown proper respect. And you're welcome. As for Alatar, nobody really, you're welcomed. Nobody really approaches you. There's a lot of whispered conversation, and you can tell that they want to, but nobody quite has the courage to step forward and speak to a wizard. And Fenja, as far as you're concerned, you kind of go unnoticed a bit. You can kind of skip through the tables, through the crowds. And they don't think to look down because their nose are too stuck up in the air. Yes. But as you're moving through the party, someone will step in front of you. It's Farthing. It's the son of Bathelred. He goes, he almost runs into you, in fact, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Fenja, isn't it? From the Dwarven Kingdom of Khazad-dûm."
I don't believe I said where I was from.
Oh, sorry. That's what my father said. That's right. You were a bit elusive on that fact. I'm afraid everyone here, whether you're from there or not, has concluded that you are.
How presumptuous.
These things tend to stick. once you receive a label, it's really hard to remove it. So whether you are or not, you are Fenja from Khazad-dûm, I'm afraid. I might ask a question, if you don't mind.
I might mind, but first ask your question.
Oh, well, yes, of course. It's a rather straightforward one. I mean, no offense, but some of my father's colleagues on the council seem to think that King Duron, that is his name, if I'm not mistaken, that King Duron sits on a throne of Mithril. Is that true?
He doesn't sit very much. He's very busy.
Oh, another evasion. You see, well, whether he sits on it or not, is the throne of Mithril?
I don't know. I didn't forge it.
But at least you've confirmed that you're from Khazad-dûm. The art of verbal trickery is a skill that one must master here in Tharabed. I've taken several classes on it. To discern truth when the truth is elusive. It's a specialty. Anyway, it is an honor to meet you. I've personally never seen Mithril myself. You wouldn't happen to have any.
Any Mithril?
Oh, yes.
On me.
Well, you would be, I would say that you would be, become very popular at this party if you were to have Mithril. Why, there would probably be lineups of people to see it.
Do you see this gown I'm wearing?
Oh, yes, quite lovely.
Where am I supposed to keep Mithril in this?
Indeed. Interestingly, you didn't deny that you didn't have any, so I must conclude that you do have Mithril. Again, that word trickery coming back to win the day, so to speak. So you do have Mithril.
No.
I'm not sure I believe you. Anyway, I mean, I won't push the matter. Please, enjoy the feast. But if you do have Mithril, and you were to show it, why, that would be a wonder indeed. And he'll wander off, looking for Dania. So what's everybody doing besides? I guess Fenja was talking with Farstab, but what's everybody doing at the party? There's only 3 named NPCs here, but other than that, there would just be, like I said, merchants, princes, and nobles.
Dania would be doing very much what is expected of her, sitting wherever seat they had assigned for her, eating, making polite conversation, just doing the princess thing.
And Alatar?
Alatar would be enjoying nobody coming to council for him for once. He would be very aware that people are looking at him, but the fact that no one is bothering to, or everyone's a bit too intimidated to, he would be very, very happily. I imagine he would seek out conversation with Fenja. Both of them kind of being overlooked or not approached. He would be more than happy to engage with her to look even busier than he did. Occasionally sneaking a bit of vegetable into my pocket for Omar as well.
Do you leave him in the room?
He is his own rabbit. If he wanted to come with me, he could.
He's not in the room.
I'd fill a dish with a bit of milk or water so he can be lapping it up.
As soon as he caught wind of a feast, he's like darting between people until at some point someone will scream, "Rat! Rat!" At which point he will retreat under a table or something.
Back into the cloak.
So nothing. So essentially, the evening will pass, but at one point, Farstan will approach Dania, and he is like, my lady, we met this morning. My father introduced us, of course.
It's a pleasure to see you again.
Yes, thank you. And of course, the pleasure is all mine. Are you enjoying the feast?
I am. It is lovely. Will you join me?
Yes, of course. He takes a seat. He goes, I hear that your brother Aranor is a great troll slayer.
He is.
Indeed. I desire to be a great warrior myself. I've had extensive training, sword, bow, mounted combat, strategy. I have not yet had the opportunity to put it to use, but a great warrior indeed. That is my wish. And as he says that, you can note that Targon, he's always kind of nearby. He just kind of
I assume him and Miriam have hit it off and are now just chilling somewhere close by.
Yeah, they're actually talking about Gondor. So they're doing that. But Targan will overhear first, and he basically interrupts. He's like, it is far better to be an old one than a great one, my friend. Trust me on that. As he just kind of returns to his conversation with Miriam. And Farstan kind of looks, he feels a bit inadequate in the presence of this knight, but it kind of falls into awkward silence.
What he says is true. However, I have no doubt that you will be able to put all of your training and classes to great use.
Indeed, my lady. As I understand that Targon has already offered you his sword, but I would offer you mine as well on a journey. I will join you on the journey to Fornost and serve as your protector, of course.
There is a loud spit take from the other side of Alatar as I just all the ale in my mouth comes out, and you just hear no.
And amazingly, servants are there cleaning it up, and like a minute after you've done it, it's like it never happened. So as the evening is winding down, Bathored will come. He will come forward to Dania, probably to your group, and he will say, "I am sure you are anxious to be returning to Fornost. I know that my son Farstan and Targon of Gondor also are heading in that direction. Perhaps you would accept them amongst your company."
We would gladly accept them as travel companions.
And wizard.
We do have to make a stop to meet up with a companion that branched off from us. But
Of
then
course.
we'll be
course.
continuing on to Fornost.
Oh, consider my son to be in your service. And he gives you a look, Alatar, and he goes, "And perhaps you would be so kind as to deliver this letter from me to your father." And he hands it over to you.
Of course.
I wish I could join you on the road, but I don't like to travel this time of year.
Why ever not?
He goes, comfort, he'll say. But though that letter contains that which I wish to say, and Farstan has the complete support to act on the council's behalf. We've given him the authority to do so. And with that, I would bid you good evening. Please enjoy the hospitality of the city for as long as you choose to stay.
Thank you for your hospitality. Good evening, Bathored.
And he will turn and depart. So guests will leave eventually. They're probably not, I don't imagine that they're big partiers, so the feast doesn't go late. People leave stay as long as they think they have to, and then they wander off. To which Omar's delight, he goes, have you seen how much food they've left on the table?
Take your fill, Omar.
I will eat till dawn.
You and me both.
If Farstan attempts to chat me up, I will very politely engage.
Okay.
And then after a while, excuse myself to bed.
Okay. Yeah. And he does. And it's a relatively, it's not an overly exciting conversation. It's mostly about Tharbad and things like that, right?
I would expect that as a princess, having been to many of these dinners, I know how to hold a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can all retire for the evening, and is your intent to get on the road tomorrow?
Yes. And I will communicate that with Targan, that we plan to ride out first thing.
He'll say, I will meet you at the bridge at first light, my lady. And he will say, do you have a moment? Target says to Dania.
Yes, of course.
He'll actually walk. So you're all kind of staying in the same. There's a tower where the luxury suites are. He will go to his room and then return, and he has a leather something wrapped in a heavy kind of leather a blanket of sorts, or a leather sheet, and he let's see if I have the picture here. No, I don't. Oh, I forgot to change the image. This was Furiel and Shugdal, just the memory, with Targan. So he walks in and he'll actually just come to the entry foyer of your room, and he carefully unwraps what's in the leather cloth, and he pulls out a spear. It's been brilliantly restored. It's shining, and he hands it to you. He will say, "This is the very spear that Shugdal wielded, that struck into the stone. I returned to the passes shortly before my departure and wedged it from the rock itself. I thought that your mother might want it."
Do you not intend to give it back to her yourself? You give it to me?
I thought that I'm not sure what I thought. He will. I simply wanted you to see it. It is
beautiful.
Indeed. He will say, he'll actually touch he actually touches the spear. Indeed, he said, Shugdal, as a sign of defiance or desecration, perhaps, wielded a spear that was taken from one of the knights of the Citadel. This was fashioned in Gondor some time ago. It is a spear fit for a king or a queen. Anyway, on the bridge at dawn.
On the bridge at dawn.
And leave the room.
Oh, he got such a crush.
Does anyone want to do anything else in Tharbad before you depart?
No.
As we go to bed for the evening, I complain about everything. Well, then, like, within 2 minutes, I am out like a light, snoring loud enough to, like, keep the person in the next room awake.
Which is me.
Sorry.
So, the bed, again, it's comfortable. It's nice. And you each would have a personal attendant assigned to your room. So during your moments of complaining, the attendant's like running back and forth, trying to do whatever they can. But by the time you're sleeping, they themselves will have a chance to rest.
What becomes of the bundle of plague rats?
Oh yeah.
I will actually ask my attendant if they can take it with a note that I put on top that just says, "You're welcome." And I'm going to have it sent to the king, or the princely person that we met.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I'm gonna have it sent to. Let me pull up Roll20. Oh nope, it's gone. Just kidding.
You want to send it to? I'd be yapping here. Bathelred.
Yeah.
Okay. They will see to it that that's done.
They did nothing about it, so.
Yep. Very nice. So you fall in. You find slumber, and yes, you fall asleep quickly, Fenja, and others of you might find rest. That's one thing I do not know. How much do wizards sleep in Lord of the Rings? Maybe they don't sleep at all. I'm not sure.
Well, we know from when the Palantir gets robbed that they do at least sort of trance or something.
Yeah, so
with an eye open.
Maybe more of a meditation of sorts.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
So
I definitely do.
Yeah, so you can be meditating. And as you are, you awaken. So you come like as alert as you would be as if you were in the middle of a battle. So you go from a rest to something is wrong. Like your hand immediately probably reaches out. I don't know if you keep your staff close at hand, but even if it's not close to hand, if it was like leaning against the wall across the room,
I didn't go with it. I sleep holding it.
You might just hold on to it, but there's something wrong.
What do I sense?
You can reach out your attention. You are drawn to the balcony. Oh, you're drawn to the doors that lead outside onto the balcony.
Wielding my staff, and I will, I'm not someone who gets under the covers. It just lies on top of the bed, legs immediately off.
Yeah.
Staff slightly in front of me, walking over. Where is Omar?
He probably would have been curled up, kind of in your beard and hair.
That's fine. I will him onto the bed. To the doors I go.
Kicks a couple of times at the pillows and then falls back to sleep. Although one ear, or maybe he's pretending he's sleeping because one ear kind of pivots and follows you as you walk out onto the balcony.
If I tell you, go to Dania, and I will go to the doors.
And he immediately gets up into a starter position and gets ready to run. So you walk towards the doors. Your hand reaches for it. You push them open. Dania and Fenja, I would say that your I'm going to say your dreams, you do dream. They're haunted. And when I say they're haunted, they feel that way, as if something is pursuing you or chasing you, and something dead. And so you'll probably be restless. I'll say you still sleep, but you're probably tossing and turning. And so Fenja, you would have slept very soundly for the first part of the evening. And then your dreams would have been so if you think of Khazad-dûm, the deepest, darkest parts of Khazad-dûm.
Oh no.
And that there is something in that darkness waiting, a doom. And Alatar, as you step out onto the balcony, so you are in a tower. It is actually the merchant building and the tower itself. So Tharbad is tiered, so like Minas Tirith, but it doesn't have the walls, but it is tiered, and essentially the higher the tier, the more affluent the buildings and the taller the buildings. You would be in the top tier. So the tower that you're in is quite high, so it affords, you can look out across the river to the lands to the north. On a clear day, on a clear night, you can see the stars, the hills, the Barrow-Downs. I mean, essentially, you can see a great distance. And as you step onto the balcony and peer out, peer out to the north, you can actually see the Greenway, which is essentially the main road that goes north. The night sky is kind of alight with eldritch fire, and you can watch as tendrils of green mist descend along the hills and settle into the Barrow-Downs, filling them with radiant fire. It's not close to Tharbad, it's in the distance, but this sight is unnerving to you.
Do I know what this means?
I'll give you. I will give you. Let's see. What type of roll here should we do? How about insight under heart?
Not law? Okay. Oh yeah. I see insight. Got it. Yeah, insight. Okay, so that is.
Lore. I could also go with lore if that's better for you. That's fine.
Marginally better.
Yeah.
So. $17.
17. That's a good roll. So as you're standing there, and you kind of you close your eyes, gripping your staff. You just kind of reach out with your mind. You retreat rather quickly. So as your kind of mind goes out across the river towards the north, you are left with the impression that the dead are restless. The dead are stirring. Something has disturbed them. A darkness, a shadow has reached, and when you follow that eldritch mist, the trail of dark energy back to its source, Angmar.
Okay. How much do I know of the history of Angmar?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Essentially, here's what you know, and in fact, nobody really knows a whole lot at the moment. What you know is that a sorcerer king has claimed the throne of Angmar, and this is sorcery that you're witnessing. So it would seem to confirm. That's a rumor. So the rumor is that it's a sorcerer king. If you recall, when you spoke with Saruman, he seemed to think that it was confirmed that it was a sorcerer king sitting on the throne. You need no more proof than this. So what this is dark sorceress power reaching out, stretching its long hand from Angmar to disturb the dead of the Barrow-Downs. Cause them to be restless.
Deeply concerning. But nothing I can do about it now. I will watch it until the sun starts to come up and it fades, I guess.
With the rising sun, the mist is gone. It has settled. In fact, it probably ends before that. The stream of mist kind of ends. You see, it's almost like the tail of a snake comes in and it settles, and it kind of dissipates away into the mounds and into the grounds. And by morning, it's gone. It's as if, in fact, the feeling is still there slightly, but the morning sun has kind of cast it away.
I'll make a note of this and report to Kurumo should a Palantir ever cross my path.
Well, you are meeting Celebrian at Amon-Sul, so there is a Palantir there, so you might be able to use it. So in the morning, you can all meet on the bridge and start your journey north. Farstan will be waiting. He has quite a fine horse, beautiful barding and a saddle. His clothes are impeccable, and also Targon is waiting on his warhorse. And they'll both nod as they'll take note of the rabbit that appears to be leading the way.
Before we start riding out, do we want to take a break?
Yeah, let's do that. So
Okay.
We'll be back in 5.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Take 5. We'll be right back.
And we're back to TBK Roleplay and the campaign Shadow Over Arnor. Before the break, we left off our fellowship was leaving the merchant city of Tharbad, heading north. In fact, I'll bring up the map. I'll bring up the map again here. You are heading north along the road, which will bring you by Bree. So you're right here. It's the Greenway. You're going to travel along there until you get to Bree. You are with the rabbit. Just remember your travel times are halved. So you're going to take a quick jaunt over to Amon-Sul to meet up with Celebrian and also investigate why the Palantir did not detect the orcs with the horde of rats coming down through Rhudaur. Following that, you will head on to your final destination, which is Fornost. So you travel upon the road. The traveling goes well. Alatar, do you mention anything of what you saw the night previous, or do you keep that to yourself for now?
Like, we're not actively heading towards it, I suppose.
Well,
for now, I will just
the deal. You will have to pass through the Downs. There's not much.
Then yes, we should exercise caution heading through the Downs. I witnessed something that put me ill at ease in the night.
So I will give everyone an insight roll. So that's under heart. So you travel. So you travel. It's going to be a couple of days on the road to get to Bree from Tharbad. So you're traveling by day, making camps at night. I'm assuming. I mean, this isn't D&D where they're like, hey, what's your watch order and stuff like that. But I'm assuming you're being vigilant, Alatar, along the journey. So what did folks get for their insight roll?
11.
You
What?
got the 11, isn't that the bad one?
I got a dirty 11.
Oh, dirty 11. Okay.
I rolled a 10 on my D12.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then a 3 on my D6.
13 and Fenja.
I rolled a 1.
Oh.
I don't have any insight. Don't mind me. I'm doing my best.
So as you're traveling north, Alatar, I am assuming. So if you look at the map, you can see that the Barrow-Downs, of your journey, the Barrow passing through the Downs is only a small part of it. Whether you, I'm assuming that you would, in discussions with Omar, would be like, whatever we do as we're traveling, we want to pass through the Downs by day, and we'll camp. So we'll camp wherever we have to camp, whatever we have to do. We want to pass through the Downs in the daylight versus night, but that doesn't happen. It's as if some will is something bends its will against you, and despite all of the planning, despite Omar's insistence that he's going in the right direction at the right speed, you find yourself in the middle of the Downs, and as the sun almost as if it's unnaturally setting around you, and as the sun is setting, mist is rolling down through the hills or the mounds on either side. And I'll just bring you down to the Downs here. And to back. So there's no more green mist, but essentially the Downs are these mounds of earth with standing stones by the hundreds. It's where kings of old, lords and kings of old, have been buried for ages. The lords and kings of Aranor. So you didn't make your insight roll. Nobody really made it, so you don't notice this until it's too late. And Omar is completely like, I don't know what happened. I was going the right speed. I thought we left at the right time, didn't we? Did I fall asleep and miss something? I don't understand.
The fault is not yours, Omar. This is the result of what we saw last night. Some malevolent force exerts itself on the Barrows. My ladies, you should ready your weapons.
Targon will say, the mist comes in thick, the fog, so much so that you can barely see. You can't see much distance in front of you. Targon will look at you as wizard. Should we hold our position so as not to be separated? Perhaps build a fire and wait out till dawn.
By the unnatural way the sun was forced down upon us, we may find ourselves waiting for a dawn that never comes. We should remain together and press on.
How is that possible? What sorcery to be
old
for this?
Old sorcery.
And
ancient.
He'll ready his sword and move a bit closer to Dania. You can see Farstan. You can see his sword blade is full of jewels. It's the mate to your dagger. He practices a couple of times, bringing it out of the sheath and putting it back in, bringing it out and putting it back in, just to make sure his actions are fluid. But everything there is your words are almost dimmed. Like when you speak, it's like you have to lean in. It's like you all have suddenly become everyone has become difficult to hear, and the mist and the fog becomes so thick that you cannot. So you can explain to me how you're traveling, if Alatar, if you have an idea. But for example, if you were traveling one after the other, the person at the back would not be able to see the person at the front.
I am going to dismay my companions and possibly delight the GM by seeing if I can spend a single hope to have a sphere of light, or like an aura of light, come out from my staff, trying to burn off some of the mist and just keep enough of a bit of a beacon for our group that we're able to. I'm sure it wouldn't be perfect, but we're all at least able to keep sight on each other if I sort of stay in the center.
I would have to remind you that will drive your eye awareness from 15 to 16, and if you hit 20, the Angmar is unleashed, so to speak.
I'm going to do it.
Okay. So,
real quick question.
Yep.
Can we
can
do
you
that
not,
multiple
Alatar?
times, or is it like the one time and then all of a sudden death? Like they hit the 20.
Oh no, so as soon as you hit the 20, what happens is Angmar unleashes something upon you, and then it goes back down to 0. If that fails, so it's not like it's permanent, right? So it's not like, it's like Angmar, it's like the eye, essentially Sauron, essentially goes, something there needs to be dealt with, dispatches something to do it. But then Sauron is so omnipotent and fickle that he just assumes that it'll be taken care of. So your eye awareness goes back down to its original value, which for you is not, which for your group is not 0. It's actually 6, and that's because of the items that you're carrying, and because you have a wizard in your company. The eye tends to pay attention to the comings and goings of wizards.
We have a wizard. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be no fun to have these systems and then spend weeks and weeks desperately trying to avoid them. There's an immediate threat to us. Yep. I am popping one hope off.
Okay, so you can light the beacon. So the effect of it, I don't know if you've ever been driving on a foggy night. You put your high beams on, kind of the light reflects off the fog. So here's what it does. It doesn't really enhance your visibility, but it does allow everybody to see out where Alatar is. So you can see the glow of the light through the fog. But Alatar, you have difficulty seeing anyone, because it's almost like you're a beacon, but the light kind of gets reflected back on you a bit by the fog. But it is enough that you are essentially serve as a lighthouse or a beacon that people can follow if they get separated. So you're walking. The fog is oppressive. Your horses. So get that your horses are so terrified that they're not actually neighing or fighting. They're just like walking. Maybe you can feel them shiver underneath you. So they're relatively easy to control, but if you need them, you're not sure how responsive they're going to be. So
as we're going along, I'd be just lowly and quietly singing a very low, almost hummed, basic song in words to soothe the horses.
So Dania and Omar, yeah. Oh, and Omar is he'll actually admit, he's like, I have no idea where I'm going. I'm lost. We should turn back now before it's too late.
Calm yourself.
Easy for you to say. You're on a horse. I'm on the ground. I'm
Grab him.
I'm
Tuck him in.
We might stop our chittering and lower our voices as we continue onward.
Is she talking to me? I don't understand human. He's like,
she is.
All right, so he'll go along, and so as Alatar is singing this song, Dania, your everybody does fall into a silence, but Alatar's voice seems like it's very distant and growing more distant, and another voice is becoming louder. It's actually Dania of Arthedain. Come to us. Join us.
Assuming that it is dead kings summoning me, I will just quietly under my breath say, it is not my time yet.
Time is not for your choosing. And you can, so the voice will just continue. You'll hear kind of these whispers, which are repeatedly saying your name and calling to you. No one else hears this. However, Alatar, you might sense that the dead are roused. So at your passing, it's almost like if you could imagine the fog, you kind of sense the shadow-like forms of the dead just beyond sight, kind of almost like a sea of them, and they're just kind of, as you pass, they move aside and come around. So you're very aware that the dead are present, but you don't necessarily hear their voices. Dania, it's becoming so much so that you can barely think. And
I am just going to make a small hand sign to Miriam to indicate that I'm.
Yep, you go to do it, and you can't even see her. She's not there. You thought there was a distinct shape of her before, but she's not there. And Alatar's voice is almost so distant now that you can't hear it.
Upon realizing that I thought Miriam was there and then she's not, I am going to just try and look up and gain my bearings.
Yep, and the mist, thankfully, the mist is thinning. And as the mist thins, you can see the first thing that you see are the rising stones of the Barrows. And there's a great barrow before you. And when you ride out of the mist, so your horse is your horse is no longer answering to you. It's just plodding ahead. Its head is as low as the horse can get. It's just kind of walking with its head down, and you see a great barrow and before you, and almost like ghostly like forms amongst the stones, and there's an opening in the barrow, an opening of blackness, and your horse just comes to a stop. And you realize there is no one around you. You rode out of the mist on your own. Welcome, Dania of Arnor, daughter of Abdui, born of the line of Isildur, whom we all served in life and betrayed us in death. All we have built and the blood we bled has come to naught. How do you answer for this betrayal? How do you justify the squandering of our lives?
I am going to dismount from my horse and release my white knuckle grip on the reins.
As you dismount and walks, your horse just dies. It just collapses. It just collapses from a heart attack. And Alatar, that death you sense. It's like a tremor. Suddenly you sense death, almost like a sonar ping through the fog.
I would immediately steer us in that direction.
Yep. Fenja, as you're there, you actually, both Miriam and Targan would say, is everyone accounted for? Targan will say, sound off. He's used to kind of the military thing. and Miriam will cry out, and Farstan, I am here. I cannot even see my horse's head, but I am here. And Fenja, you call out?
I'm here. Wherever that is.
There is one voice missing. Dania's. Speak, Dania of Arthedain. How do you justify the squandering of our lives?
I cannot answer for my ancestors. But should a path present itself for me to write it, I will tread it.
How is it possible that you could write the dead? We have long been taken by rot.
Perhaps you are held here by your sense of injustice and betrayal.
Yes, we have been betrayed. And you offer nothing but empty promise.
I have no solid one to give. What would you ask of me?
Anything except for hollow words. But perhaps your words do not matter now. We serve a new master, one that will not betray us. You will join us. Lay your head upon the stones, Dania of Arthedain, and sleep. Become one of us. And you start to walk forward, quite to your surprise. Oh, and I
attempt to resist?
So as suddenly the beings around you become more as they step out of the dark openings of the mounds, step out from behind the stones, and you can see that there's this stone altar before you, and your body is walking towards it as if it is going to lay itself down, and these wraiths are closing in. Meanwhile, Alatar, you're leading the way. Yes, so you can try and fight it. So basically, here's how. So for Alatar, I will get you to roll. Essentially, now you have magic. You can use magic if you want. That of course will rise the threat rating. But otherwise, you can make an insight roll. Actually, you know what? There's so many skills that could apply here. Like, it could be awareness, hunting, insight, a riddle, perhaps. A riddle is used to basically arrive at conclusions. So I'll let you pick one, or you can use your magic. And just a reminder, magic is essentially an automatic success.
I'm going to go with insight.
So Dania, as for you, as you're being drawn forward, so you can either, if you can come up with a thought or an idea or something to say that would break the hold, then I would do that. Otherwise, if you want to rely on game mechanics, it requires a hope. So every action you take here in the Barrow-Downs under the will of the Barrow Whites requires a hope. So you're going to have to spend 1 hope for every action that you do with your body. I should point out, you do gain, one of the things that I had forgotten last time was shadow. The currency in this game is shadow and hope. And if your shadow gets too high, you can become miserable. You will gain 2 shadow points. You had gained 2 last time, so you now have 4. As you realize your hope is draining as you're being drawn by the will of these things towards the stone altar.
Just FYI, there, my insight roll was a 19.
A 19. Yeah, so you know exactly where the horse died. You sense and you know exactly where Dania is. You're racing. I assume you're racing. Racing through the fog to get there. Are you trying to go as a group, or you don't care? You're just riding it like everybody just.
Yes, we're staying as a group.
Okay, all right. So so Dania.
Can my hand attempt to find my blade?
Yes,
Telestel?
It can. In fact, Telestel gives you a free hope that you can use each session. So you can use it, and that will allow you to act. So the Barrow Wights, as you can see, their blades are out. They're kind of held in very sinister fashions as they approach. They all wait for you to lay upon the stone, and then they're kind of gathered around it, and they will strike. The one on the left, the one with the sword, is the chief amongst them. He is a king of old. What are you going to do? Your hand.
I'm just going to put my hand on my blade and attempt to just find some sort of sense of strength from it. And I will just say, I owe you no promises. And you may call them empty words, but all I have to give is me saying that I will try and right the wrongs of my ancestors.
You are wrong. You can give your life. Freely lay yourself upon the altar. Give your life in payment for sins committed by your ancestors. And all around the Barrow Wights are like, do it. Lay upon the altar of your own free will.
None of you have claim over my life, and I will not give it to you.
Then we will take it. And what I will give you in this moment is you are free to act. So
I'm gonna draw the sword. I don't know how much effect it will have on them, but I will draw the sword.
As the dagger is in your hand, I'm going to say they have no strength of will on your mind or your body, so you can act normally. So there's going to be one. So Alatar and the others are closing in. But because they're keeping as a group, it's going to take a little bit longer than if he had rushed off on his own. So we're going to do 1 round of combat with Dania alone, as one of these wights steps forward with the sword in an attempt to claim your life. In this game, player characters always go first, so there is no initiative. So as the shadow of the blade falls upon you, this thing, as it steps forward, it literally just kind of passes through the stone. What would you like to do?
I would like to attempt to parry or, just defend myself at anything coming against me.
So this, so you would prefer to kind of do not attack, just do.
Yeah, I'm not going to advance any or move into engagement, but like I don't want to get any closer to the stone, and I want to defend against any attack coming towards me.
So you feel the other Barrow Wights closing in around you, but this one just glides towards you, rushing and strikes with its blade. So here's what I'll do. So what's your parry? That's essentially under.
So my parry is 18.
18. So I'll give you a bonus to your parry because you're essentially defending. You're foregoing your offensive action. So yeah, this thing will sweep in I'll make my roll here. Hopefully, I will not get the eye of Sauron. Just a reminder how this works. So you have endurance, and your endurance is very fluid. So it's not real hit points. You're not really wounded when you lose it. It just kind of represents your fatigue and stress in battle. So this thing sweeps forward. It strikes out. Let's see for. So I can't believe I actually rolled quite well. My apologies, Luca, but the sword, you try and defend, the sword strikes true, and you realize that the blade itself is incorporeal. So your instinct was to parry with your own sword because it's the larger of the two. Its blade just kind of passes right through it, and you will take 3. You will actually take 9 endurance. So quite a blow as you feel the chill of the blade strike at you.
Okay. I'm down to 14. Okay.
This one thing though, the blade passed through your sword, passed through a part of you, but I'll say it hit the dagger and stopped cold. The dagger stopped it.
Okay.
So I will give you a chance. So as you back away, you feel the others closing in. I will give you a chance to. I'll give you a chance to act. One more chance to act, if you'd like. Is there anything that you'd like to do in particular?
I'm just gonna repeat what I last said. Just you have no claim on my life, and I'm gonna try and position myself so that not as many of them are behind me.
Well, they will. Your word. They will stop. One of them, the front, as it struck its blow, it stops and it goes. Why do you feel you should not bear the sins of Isildur? Why do you escape blame? Are you not of his line? If not you, then from who shall we extract our vengeance?
I am sorry that you feel it is owed to you. But those were his actions, not mine. I can attempt to right them through a sense of duty.
Our Dark Master sweeps down from the north. What hope do you have for Arthedain? He won't say Arthedain, he'll say for Aranor, because that was his home. What hope is there left?
Hope of the future? I have no idea. I have no idea what to say to this angry ghost.
That's okay. You weren't necessarily. He's very determined. And so you still have your light shining, I'm assuming, Alatar, of the staff. You can see a light appear in the fog, closing in on the area, and he will. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because on how I'm interpreting this. I'm interpreting it that Dania, actually, her hope is shattering a little bit in this moment. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I mean, she's doing her best, but she was already gripping those reins like full on white knuckle style before she even got off the horse. She's trying to answer as best she can to what's being put to her, but like, this is so out of her element.
So just as Alatar comes riding in, this thing basically casts its despair upon you. So it has an ability where essentially you'll gain another 3 shadow points just because its conviction is so strong that Aranor is destined to fall, and yours did not appear as strong in rebuttal. So essentially it casts 3. So you suffer 3 shadow points, which would bring you up to 7? So as long as your shadow is not equal to your hope, you're good. But you're becoming filled more with despair. And then all of a sudden the mist parts as a light. Alatar, Fenja, as you come in, you see that Dania is surrounded by the dead wraiths, Barrow-Wights. So you have initiative. You can explain to me what you would wish to do.
Do you have anything you want to do, Fenja, or do you mind if I do? Do you have anything open and planned?
You can go first. I'm just still with my axes now that I'm like jogging through.
Well,
Haven't seen. Oh.
You realize, Fenja, as you come through here, your foe is the dead.
Having seen, obviously, the events of the night before, and now seeing Dania surrounded by the obvious dead, I will point my staff more in that direction. Not cast anything new, but just focusing the light on it.
The light.
And I will just, if this works properly, it may not, just...
Return to your barrows and your long, resentful sleep, spirits. You have no claim over this air of Isildur. Lay your ill will to rest. Your new master will not have any of us this night.
I'm going to give you a hope for that.
Yay!
You know what? Normally, that took me by surprise. Normally, there underneath strength, there's something called awe, which you use to invoke awe. I'm not going to ask you to make a roll because that was off. So before your light and your voice, and again, Alatar, just like Gandalf, when he kind of rose up when he confronted Bilbo about the ring, Alatar's voice just shatters these spirits. It dispels them, casting them back to their barrows. And the light burns away the fog, like it burns it away entirely, so that you are standing beneath a clear night sky with brilliant stars, the crisp breeze, and the whispers of the dead fall silent.
I think Dania's knees are gonna buckle, and she's just gonna drop down a bit.
Side, Targon first, and Miriam is like, "Are you all right, my lady?" She's almost welling up with tears out of the thought that she almost lost you. Targon turns. He goes, "Wizard, will they return?"
Certainly they will. You should not tarry.
Very
They'll
well.
be driven off for a time, but they will return. Perhaps tonight, perhaps another night. And seeing the dead horse, I suppose Miriam would probably.
Yep, she will. Gladly. You
Get down up on hers.
get on back. I don't. You might. You know what? A Farstan has a lot of luggage, so he might. He probably has a pack horse as well, because he has like trunks with like his. With 10 changes of clothes and.
Oh, stop it! You're making me hate this guy. He's done nothing directly wrong, but I just hate him. If
guy
Miriam
sucks.
If Miriam doesn't have room for it, I would just pull with surprise and ease Dania up onto mine. But it may be that Miriam's way ahead of me.
Yeah, I would go with Miriam. However, I assume Miriam, knowing, having her head about her, would grab whatever I'm supposed to have with me out of my saddlebags and put them on Farstan's pack horse.
Yeah, listen, Targon doesn't even hesitate. He goes over, has a dagger, and he cuts loose the chests. They just kind of fall, break open. Beautiful silk blouses and trousers spill across the barrows. But he is like, we ride until we can ride no more, until we are free of this cursed place. And he will actually give you a salute, Alatar, as in, he has, that was impressive. Not being one who has often seen the might of wizards, he is, you've earned his respect.
Yes, well, let's be about our business.
And you ride. So you are free of the barrows. They fall into the distance, and the sun rises on another day as you make your way. Omar has some shortcuts to Amon-Sul, so he'll kind of lead you a bit off the road, but always in an area where your horses can travel. And the rest of your journey will be uneventful, unless you want to introduce events of your own. But you'll note that you'll note a couple of things. Miriam sticks really close to your side, Dania, as does Targan. Farstan looks as if this is his first experience. Farstan looks ill for the rest of the journey. And in fact, he probably will get ill on a few occasions, just at the thought that the dead exist. In fact, he'll even admit on the ride to the wizard, he says, I had not thought such things were possible, that they even existed. Yesterday the dead were dead, and today they walk. Today they walk and speak. How common is this, wizard?
When I was in the East, which I was until very recently, the dead rising is the least strange or horrific thing that you could imagine.
Well, I apologize, my lady. If it had not been for the wizard's spell, I would have surely been at your side, sword in hand, ready to push back the foul creatures.
I will give Dania a gem lock.
Targon will say, don't be a fool, boy. You would be dead. We all would. And he nods towards you, Alatar, and after...
Dania will just reply to him and just say, I have no doubt that you would have risen to my aid, Farson.
He gets a bit higher in his saddle after that.
Throw him a bone. Poor buddy.
I'm going to tell him ghost stories the rest of the trip about dwarves who have died in the mines and how they haunt all the mines.
Oh.
Fuck with him the rest of the way.
He'll get sick. So after a day and a bit, the watchtower of Amon-Sul comes into view. The home of the Amon-Sul stone, one of the three Palantiri owned by Arthedain, or in the possession of Arthedain. The Palantiri, just for those of you who are not familiar, are seeing stones. So someone of strong will can use them almost like a crystal ball to kind of peer out across the land. They can also be used to communicate with each other. So, for example, there is a Palantiri in Minas Tirith, and one here, one in Fornos, one in Innuminus. So essentially, you can communicate across great distances. At this period in time, so if you watch The Lord of the Rings, Palantiri were missing, some in the hands of Sauron, which is how he converted Saruman. At this point, all Palantiri are accounted for, so there is no risk of that, just so you would know.
Right, okay.
Amon-Sul, so the great watchtower of Amon-Sul stands before you as you ride up to it. As soon as you're seen, the watch, they cry out, horns will sound, and the great doors will be opened, and you are given entry. You'll be met by the commander of the watchtower, Valken, who you would probably have met him before, Dania. He may have come to Fornos. He's the captain of the watchtower. As soon as he sees who you are, he falls to the knee, gives his bow momentarily, and then rises. He is like, Princess Dania, what an unexpected but not unwelcome surprise.
Falcon, there should have been someone before us. Have you seen,
We have not seen anyone, my lady, since your passing some weeks ago. So when you went to Rivendell, you would have passed through here. You probably would have stayed here. You probably would have stayed here the night. I'm sorry. I will ask the scouts as to whether or not anything has been reported. However, I must say that most of my soldiers are uneasy. Their dreams are haunted by whispers of the night, 2 nights prior. A green mist came down from the hills and settled in the Barrows. Ever since then, well, we have been on edge.
We have just come from the Barrows. I would recommend that you not send any of your men there. To
But
investigate.
you passed through safely. Well, that is at least some good news.
That is up for some debate. Whether we pass through safely. I would not recommend anyone try the dead walk there.
Miriam goes, "What does the seeing stones show, Vulcan?" We bear news from the east in Ilmerhad and more from Tharbad. There is threat from Angmar. Why have you not responded? And he looks at you, Dania. He goes, "Malbeth the Seer, the keeper of the stone. I'm afraid he has locked himself in the tower. He's gone quite mad."
And you have not sent word to anyone?
I have sent a rider to Fornos, my lady. Normally we would use the stone, but it is in the tower with Melbeth. We are essentially blind. Perhaps he will listen
Very
to
well.
you.
I will go see him.
And they'll take your horses. You can get settled. You're starting for the tower.
Yeah.
Fenja, you can note that there are forges here. They have to upkeep their own arms and armor, so you hear the familiar sound of hammers ringing on metal.
I will step away from the group because no one needs to have conversations with this dwarf in this room. And go to the first room that I hear the sound of a hammer behind.
Yeah, so they're open forges. So there is kind of an inner. So some of the rings of the tower are open to the sky. So you can see that there are armor smiths hammering away. Probably, listen, I'm going to say the craftsmanship is probably crude by your standards as you're taking a look at it. But you will hear a voice come from kind of an area in behind the forge, and he goes, "It is hard to judge their skill today unless you've seen what they made yesterday. These lads are apprentices. Do you remember the first time you bent metal to your will?" And to your surprise, it's an old dwarf.
My face just brightens seeing them.
I'll actually grab the picture here. He is quite old. He is essentially he's probably in Lord of the Rings time, dwarves live to about 250 around that. This guy would absolutely be pushing that, if not older. He's probably the oldest dwarf you've ever seen.
I'm so excited.
So he will. He essentially looks towards you and he goes, "Well, don't just stand there. Show me your skill."
Gladly.
And one of the apprentices will step aside, and you'll note that they will all kind of step aside, and he will, and they gather around to watch.
Yeah. I'll pick up a piece that the guy was just working on, the apprentice was just working on. Give it a good shake, and then just start crafting away with it. But coaching through the process. So being and this is what I'm doing here. This is why I'm grabbing this. Very much being she worked diligently to become an expert in her craft.
Yep.
So she wants to help others, even if they take just a grain of knowledge from it.
And there's many questions. They're a bit in awe of your skill as you're quickly kind of moving the metal, hitting it with the stone, heating it, reshaping it. All of them are eager to learn even an ounce of your skill. And when you're done, you fashioned an item. They kind of all of the apprentices kind of wander off. The dwarf extends a mug of ale in your direction, and he's like, I am Drorlin. You smell of Khazad-dûm. Tell me, do the forge fires still burn bright under the mountains?
That they do.
Only the fire of the deeps can turn Mithril into a shimmering river of silver hue. I haven't laid eyes upon Mithril in what seems like an age. I doubt I will see it again, nor the halls of Khazad-dûm before the end.
I may have something I could show you.
Oh, really?
I just don't want to think of you not seeing Mithril before your time has come, old man.
Well, and you see his hands are shaking as he reaches out. He goes, What do you have that I can behold?
I want to pull out the fanciest sword
Mithril's,
that I definitely stole from my uncle.
His hands touch it. He will actually say, how did you come into possession of such a wondrous gift?
I work with Mithril. Back at Khazad-dûm.
I look upon it, and it reminds me of my youth, but it also fills me with sadness.
Why are you sad?
I will never see the halls of Khazad-dûm again because I was exiled when my grandnephew took the throne. Duron, your king. He was always suspicious in his youth. He never thought he could live up to the legacy of those who sat on the throne before him. The ring of power, it changed him, it did, as it does all who wear it. For those of you in chat, the 3 rings made for the Dwarvish Lords, the Lord of Khazad-dûm, still bears one in this time. It made him believe there were conspiracies hidden in every shadow. He thought that I wanted to take the throne for myself, when in truth, I would have given my life for him to keep it. No matter. That was a long time ago. How is my nephew these days?
Well, I'm afraid not any better.
He says, that saddens me to hear. It was not always so, you know. Do you know why the Orcs hate us more than any other race?
Because we're better than them? More than any other race?
Now you sound like my nephew. No, that is not the case. It was during the Second Age when the elves realized the Dark Lord's deception. The rings of power had been a lie. But the Dark Lord acted first. With a great host, he crossed the fords of Isen and laid siege to Eregion. The elven king, Celebrian, the forger of the rings, was slain. And so ended the line of Fëanor. But I digress. Back to the dwarves. The elves, now led by Elrond, were under threat of being overwhelmed, slaughtered to the last. There was no hope. And do you know what saved them?
Was it us?
Good girl. It was the dwarves of Khazad-dûm. We could have shut the gates, but we marched in force and attacked the Dark Lord's host. Elrond and the elves escaped, and they fled north, where they founded Rivendell. The Dark Lord and those who followed him never forgave us. They expected us to be so consumed by greed that we would ignore the world's passing. But we showed him we were better than that. Remember, Fenja, that only by helping each other can the darkness be defeated. All that evil needs to succeed is that we shut our doors and do nothing. The shadow will swallow us all, if we do not stand together. I'm rattling on like an old dwarf. I'm sorry. You must be bored to tears.
Quite to the contrary. I hope to learn more from you for however long we're here.
Well then, return to the forge at any time. I am sure the lads can learn much more from your skill. He'll pick up what you made and he'll say, this is amongst the finest I have ever seen. Your father, my nephew, would be proud. Grandniece, he'll say. And he'll pat your hand and cheers with the ale down the entire draft, and then very slowly make his way to his bed.
When you asked about your nephew earlier, were you talking about the king, or are you talking about my father?
I always liked your father. He tried to speak up for me, he did. But Duron would hear none of it. The ring, it has its hold on him. And it will not release until death, I'm afraid.
He's still trying. My father, that is.
Of course he is. I'm just not sure it will make a difference. But you can, Fenja of Khazad-dûm. You can where a king refuses to. Do you understand?
I think so.
Good.
And I'll just stow the beautiful sword.
That is not a sword meant for stowing. It can make a difference, it can. Even the dead will flee before it. Remember that. It is mithril. There is no finer metal. And he will wander off to his bed.
She'll just face palm as she walks out, oh, so stupid.
So up on the so Alatar, I assume you are going with Dania up the stairs.
Having heard that Malbeth has sealed himself away, who I imagine I would have some slight awareness of.
Yes. So
I will definitely be going with.
Yeah, he is a seer. He's the keeper of the seeing stones here. So not a magician in the sense that he can wield magic.
Yeah.
Malbeth is a bit unique from the other keepers of the stones. Just so you would both know, in Fornost, the keeper will be Salmunder, the advisor. But something that's very important here, those who use the stones need to be of incredibly strong will. There is one exception. The Lion of Isildur can use the stones without essentially having to make a roll. So Dania, you probably would have used the stone on a few occasions. You might have had lessons from Salmunder in their use, but ultimately the task lies with the keepers, of which the one here is Malbeth. So what sets him apart is the seeing stones typically allow you like a spyglass to look out over the land. Malbeth has been known to see the past and the future by looking through the stones. Nobody else has done that, but that's why they call him the seer.
Okay.
So you can climb the stairs. Yep, sorry.
I assume the door is just if we climb up this tower, is the door just wooden and locked, or?
Wooden and locked, yep. In fact, we might say, to be honest, there might be maybe all royalty have a master key. That might make sense, but we'll say that it's locked. But he probably has piled something up on the other side. Nothing too much of a barrier for a wizard and a princess, a determined princess, I'm sure.
It depends. How does a wizard's determination weigh up against his desire to not cast any more spells this session? I used the staff as a crowbar.
That's true. Yep. Well, you can knock.
I am going to knock first.
Okay.
And call out for him.
will say, well, as soon as kind of the knock happens, it's like, I told you, Valken, I have no words for you.
It is not Valken. Please open the door. It is Dania.
The princess. You can hear something being moved on the other side as the door will open, and Malbeth, you see the seeing stone kind of in the center of the room, and it's
Zedekus Verander, what are you doing here?
And he goes, I knew you would come, he says. And he will turn around and walk. And you can see kind of chairs and a table were piled up against the door, but he has moved them aside. And so in the center of the room with the stone, all around it are open windows where you in 360 kind of degree, you can look in every direction. He'll walk over to the one that looks north and just stand there and stare. So he kind of locks eyes with you briefly, and then he just turns his back and he just stares out to the north. And he goes, I knew you would come. I saw it.
Why have you locked yourself in this tower? I want to call him Zed so bad. Why have you locked yourself in this tower, Malbeth?
The stone. It showed me things that have not yet come to pass.
What things?
Over the land, there lies a long shadow. Westward, reaching the wings of darkness. The dead who were betrayed have been awakened by the doom that wears the iron crown. There will be much, he turns towards you now, there will be much sorrow, and many lives shall pass. Hope will dim, but the line of the Dunedain must endure, Dania. It must endure above all else, even Aranor itself. The hour will come when we will hear the horns in the hills ringing. The hand. Suddenly his eyes go to your hand. He goes, the hand that wears this ring shall wield the shards reforged, and from the gray twilight the heir of him to whom they swore the oath will come, and he shall pass the doors to the paths of the dead. That is what I have seen. That is what the stone showed me. And his face suddenly becomes strained, and he visibly almost shrinks back. It has also shown me the face of our enemy.
What face did you see?
And he almost like he's just been whipped, like he physically cringes at the thought. And he goes, I'm sorry, princess. Tell the king I would have stood with him until the end.
Malbeth?
But my will is broken at the sight of him. If our enemy makes a command of me, I will obey it. Which is why I have but one choice. And he casts himself from the window.
I mean, okay, she's obviously going to move to try and stop him, but I assume she's unsuccessful. But she will lean out the window and watch him fall.
Leaving the Palantir sitting there, shimmering in the now empty room. Alatar, you're here as well. So
I'm gonna look back at you, Alatar, and just glance at you, and then move towards the Palantir.
Just to check for my own knowledge, what you said before, DM, at this time, the world is currently in a state where there would not be that wizardly kind of, whoa, don't do that. It's still an acceptable and safe form of communication, other than what Malbeth just said.
Yes, that's right. As far as you know. Now, Malbeth was uncannily skilled, as I mentioned, at the use of Palantir. But yeah, I mean, there is a risk. The thought probably crossed your mind as one of the Palantir been compromised, but Amon-Sul is blind. Malbeth did not provide you with all the information that perhaps you require. Here is a powerful tool that could be used. And both
Dania.
Dania has the blood that runs through her veins allows her to use it, whereas even yourself would be might be strained, i.e. you have to make rolls.
Yeah,
she doesn't.
Yeah, Dania, I would counsel caution. Malbeth was highly skilled and acquitted with a Palantiri, and yet if he says he was shown the enemy behind these machinations, perhaps a stone now sits with the enemy. There's no telling what you may see.
I believe that all information can be used, even if it is false.
Then I will stand with you whilst you use it.
Okay, I'm gonna reach out and touch it.
All right, you reach out and touch the stone, and it's almost like the inside is liquid, and it starts to move. Are your thoughts on anywhere in particular?
I mean, honestly, my thoughts are on just what happened and just what he told me. I feel like... Hold on, if I've been trained on how to use this, I would know to clear my mind before touching it.
Okay. Yeah, you can take a moment, clear your mind, and you touch it. You know that the threat, you think about the rats, the orcs, the green mist that came down through the mountains that Alatar told you about, the barrow whites. It would appear as if the source of this is north, and that's where Malbeth looked. So do you cast your gaze in that direction?
Yes.
Okay. So the land passes beneath your gaze as your sight travels along the Weather Hills, across Rhudaur, to the north, and it settles on a place. You recognize it, but it is changed. The place is Cameth Bryn. It is whereas Tharbad was the capital of Cardalon, and Fornost is the capital of Arthedain, Cameth Bryn is the capital of Rhudaur. Let me just drag you over here to Cameth Bryn. However, it is changed, for the banner of Angmar now flies upon its walls. Trolls stand watch on the great causeway, and a great host of orcs is camped on the surrounding plains. I will give you a glimpse of the host. Here you can see siege towers, orcs numbering in the thousands, trolls, wargs, and worse, and perhaps worse things. But your attention, even though you might be scrutinizing the horde, your attention is drawn away, whether you will it or not, back to the city, through the gates and into the halls of Cameth Bryn, which is normally would be occupied by the people, the humans of Rhudaur. And you see an iron throne, and as you get drawn into the dark hall, you can see a figure sitting upon an iron throne, and it fills you with great dread. In fact, I don't remember how many hope or how many shadow you have, but
I have 7.
Just the sight will unfortunately give you 3 more.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Yep.
Because the very sight of him strikes fear into your heart, and he speaks, and you can hear him. And the voice whispers out, "The hour is late for Aranor." And suddenly, it's almost like the Palantir has been spun, as your vision goes away from Kameth Bryn across the Trollshaws to the Weather Hills, where you see your brother riding with his rangers on the north. And the words of the Sorcerer King ring out again. The hour is late for Aranor. And then the Palantir. So you know, you instinctively, you recognize where they're at. It's less than a day's ride north of Amon-Sul, but then the Palantir goes black. Obviously, something moves against your brother.
I will, after taking my hand away from the Palantir, I saw a dark figure in Kameth Bryn, but it was not Kameth Bryn. There were trolls and orcs everywhere, an entire host of forces, and something moves against my brother, or at least wants me to believe that something moves against my brother. I was shown where he is and told that the hour is late for him. It is either a trap or we will have a chance to save him.
And suddenly someone steps into the room. He was standing outside for much of this, but it's Targon of Gondor. He will say, whether it is a trap or not, my lady, we must go to ride to his aid. Do you not agree?
I do. Whether it is a trap or not, either way, there will be something there for us to find.
I am afraid your mother could bear no more grief. Her father and brothers are already dead.
The risk alone of it being real is worth the ride.
Do you have any words, wizard?
Dania has already shown wisdom and understanding that it could be a ruse by the enemy. If Kameth Bryn has fallen, or if it is not, we must decide why the enemy believes it beneficial for us to think so. But even though she thinks it may be a trap, if she still thinks it is worth going us to her brother, then we should.
I will go with you, of course. If there is a host at Kameth Bryn, then when they march, there is but one target, this watchtower. You should, if you can, you should send word to Fornost and to Tharbad. Reinforcements may be required, but I will ride with you.
I will clear my mind and touch the Palantir again. Hopefully gonna connect with Tharbad first.
So Tharbad has no Palantir.
Right. I'm sorry. Yep.
Anything going to them, be a messenger. So you can reach. You can out, and you can
talk to Creepo.
Yes, sorry, not him. Salmunder. Salmunder the Silver-Tongued. We'll go to Fornos here. He will. You can send a message. What message would you like to send?
Just that there to be ready. That there's potentially forces marching from that direction.
So you can transmit the message. Salmunder.
Also that Malbeth is no more.
Okay, and we'll say I get the impression from the Palantir that some of them are you can have open conversations, others it's more of a message. I mean, unless you want to have a conversation with Salmunder, you can just send a message, almost like an email, and he'll receive it. You don't have to wait for a response, but it's up to you whether you actually want to speak with him.
No, I will send the message.
Right.
Dania's desire to have a conversation. Like, I just want to send the message and have him do his job.
All right. And are you leaving, like, immediately?
It is my intention to go tell the,
Balkan?
Falcon, that Malbeth is no more, that I have sent word to Fornost, and that we ride to the hills that I saw.
Weather Hills, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna try and be as communicative as possible with everyone
So
that needs
when
to
you
know.
make this announcement, Farstand will be like, but we just arrived. Should we not rest and bathe and eat?
You are welcome to stay here and recover if you need. But I must ride to save my brother.
My sword is yours, my lady. And he'll start gathering his things. Miriam looks quite worried at the news that Aranor could be in danger. So she is ready. So everyone is ready. Fenja, they'll probably round you up. Probably Targan, he'll go, my lady dwarf, Fenja, I'm afraid we must ride. Evil is afoot.
Isn't it always? And I just work my way out of the room.
All right.
Alkin, you could spare a horse for the Lady Dania, could you not?
Of
On
course.
this most urgent of matters?
Anything that you require. In fact, I would, if at but a word, I will send soldiers with you.
I will look to Dania and Fenja. I will follow their lead on this.
If there's an attack from that direction, you need to defend this tower. Please keep the soldiers with you.
Understood, my lady. I pray you find your way safely to Fornost. Please notify us. He'll say, without Malbeth, we will not be as skilled in the use of the Palantir, but we will be able to receive. We'll be waiting for your message.
I will send word as soon as I have it.
And you your group rides north at speed with Omar in the lead. Your thoughts turn to your companion, Celebrian. Why did she not arrive here? Where is Dith? And in fact, Omar is quite distressed at the fact that Dith appears to be missing. But you can only hope that they are safe. And you ride north along the weather hills. So, right, let me switch here. So the ride is actually going to be uneventful. You just swiftly make your way along the weather hills with Omar in the lead. You get there in half the time that you would expect. And as we'll say, it's daytime. It'll be like mid-morning. You would have ridden through the night. You're coming upon the area that you viewed on the Seeing Stone, and you hear the sounds of battle in the distance. What would you like to do?
What can we see? Right, we can hear battle, but is there like a hill or a crest or something that I can come over and
what
look?
the Weather Hills looks like. So it's a bunch of kind of peaks and a lot of valleys. So at the moment, you can hear the sound of battle, and I'll say just by listening in, the unmistakable sound or roar of a troll. You can't see it quite yet. You just have to ride into a valley.
Okay. For a second, Dania is gonna feel a little bit like we've been duped into coming to like save her brother from just a normal troll hunt, and that this was in fact a ruse. But she will ride forward. Can she spot Aranor?
Yeah, so as you ride into the valley, you can actually see, I guess I'll make this big. As you ride into the valley, you can see Aranor lies upon the ground, wounded. His horse stands defiantly over his body, trying to fend off a giant troll. This is one of the largest, I don't know how many trolls that you've seen, but this is one of the largest that you've seen. Then with a swing of its iron maul, the steed is crushed into the stone and earth. You'll see that the rest of Aranor's men their bodies lie broken across the ground. That's the troll. And so, again, you guys are players, so you get to go before any troll does something.
Yeah, I'm immediately knocking arrows and firing from horseback as I ride in.
Okay, so the troll's probably not, they're not overly swift, so it doesn't really realize that you're there immediately, because it's kind of taking its axe and pulling it away like the goo of the horse. It's kind of like, that's kind of interesting. So as you come riding in, your arrows kind of hit it. So because of that, I will give everybody favored, which means that you're going to roll 2 die 12 and take the highest.
I will seek to ride in and give it a good old staffing.
I rolled an 11 and a 12.
Oh, the 12 is awesome. That's what you want. That's a Gandalf.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the rest of your die are. That's an automatic hit. However, you should roll the die 6s just to determine how many 6s you have, if any.
How do I know how many I have?
Oh, sorry. So underneath your bow, there should be a certain number of pips on the character sheet.
I super do not have my bow on my character sheet. That's my bad.
Okay, let's just say you're rolling. Is the bow your main thing? So if it's your main thing, let's give you 4 die in it. So go ahead, roll 4 die 6. Tell me how many 6s you have. If you don't need to have 6s, but this is just to do extra damage.
Oh, I rolled 4 1s.
That doesn't matter. The 12 you hit.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, so don't worry about it. This is just to determine whether you get anything extra. So your arrows fly into the troll. Just for narrative purposes, you can send off several. It cries out almost like the insects are annoying it, and it kind of swats at the air after the arrows have already hit it. But you definitely got its attention. Alatar.
Yeah, I ride past and swing the staff and hit it. I got an 18 with a Gandalf.
Oh, with a Gandalf, that's amazing. Just a reminder that essentially, if you roll a 10, 10s are also special in combat. It means that it's not an endurance strike; it's actually a penetrating wound, and so you can actually kill an enemy even if you don't get through their endurance, just through these strikes. So you both got a Gandalf. Those are great. So did you roll any 6s?
One of them was a 6, yeah.
So I believe on your character sheet, I've put on the bottom, what do you get, an extra 6 damage?
Oh, yeah, an extra 6 damage at each 6 rolled.
Yeah, so essentially, you hit it with the staff right kind of on the end of the nose. The troll cries out, staggers back, but it is still hardy. Fenja.
I, too, rolled a Gandalf with 2 6s.
Out of curiosity, what weapon are you using?
I am throwing an axe at them as I try to hurry my pony up so I can hit it with my long-hefted axe.
Yeah, so basically what you do here is you're going to do your base damage for the axe plus your strength rating twice. Add that twice.
Base damage is 5. And then my strength rating?
Yeah, so the lower of you're going to have a number which is in the teens, and then a number which is singular. What's the number that's singular?
7.
7. So 7. So 14. Geez, 19 damage. Oh, 19 endurance. That was a noticeable hit. So much so that your blade kind of strikes the troll right between the eyes, and it actually falls backwards on its butt. It's getting back up, but but that was quite a blow as it roars out in rage. Targon comes riding in, swiping at it with his sword, same as Miriam. They kind of go to either side, cutting at the troll. Farstan orders his horse to attack, but he didn't take a war horse. He took a noble's riding horse that has never seen battle, and all it does is rear up and throw him from the saddle as he lands. The troll will now act. As you're riding past, it's essentially, you're like insects, you've heard it, but as you're going past, it's basically just almost like the Hulk reaching out with his big meaty fists to try and crush you. Let's see here. How about everyone roll me a die 12, and the low roll is the target of the troll.
12.
3.
11.
So Dania, you'll actually, Aranor will cry out in it, Dania, as he sees. He's like, no, as the troll will swing with its fist. Oh, he got an 11. That's good for him. That's the eye.
Oh.
That's the eye of Sauron. So here's the deal. The troll does not really distinguish between the rider and the horse. You're getting quite the reputation for being bad luck for horses, because the troll grabs the horse by the head and just kind of picks it up into the air and starts swinging it and bashing it on the ground as you go flying. By the way, your endurance, you've definitely been traveling and had time to rest. Is that endurance damage that you took at the Barrow-Downs? You would have recovered that over the coming days. It's like a short rest does that, right?
Okay, so I've recovered it, so I'm back to normal.
Endurance is at full. However, you will take some damage from the troll just from being thrown from your horse. I didn't. So you'll take 6 endurance. Not bad considering your horse took the worst of it, and it is dead.
God.
All right, so next round, I'll say you're going to go last because you've been thrown to the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, as you look up from the ground, you see Farstan's on the ground too. He kind of like, hey, first date. So Alatar, you ride past. Miriam and Targon are trying to keep it busy by riding around it. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to strike at it again.
Okay.
Six. 17 with 1 6.
17, 1, 6. So that's essentially sorry, your bonus is 6, so it's like 11.
Plus 6, yeah. So 11 damage.
Yeah. So you again a hit with the staff, and even though you're not using magic, I like to imagine the staffs when they hit, they kind of impact with more.
Yeah.
More than you would expect. There's almost like a mini kind of boom as it hits. It sends the troll. It sends the troll staggering, but it's now back on its feet, and it's just it's just the rage and the hate. So villains in this have hate that they can use. So the hate is just filling it up with rage. But Fenja is bearing down on it.
I had my horse kind of just shy up a little bit, going back as I wave the staff at him. I'm trying to get its attention.
Yep. So Fenja.
Me and my pony are gonna race right by it, and as my pony keeps running off, I'm going to hop off to go for the troll Achilles.
Oh,
with my long-hafted axe.
All right, take a swing.
Another 10 with 2 6s and a 5.
Another 10 with 2 6s and a 5. Oh, jeez. Oh, a 10. Oh, you actually rolled a 10 on the die 12.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's a piercing attack. So in addition to doing your crazy amounts of endurance, it means that you get to do something special to it, because you were kind of describing the Achilles tendon type thing. In this case, let's see, it's might. So I will let you narrate the troll's end here, because that was too. This is enough of a piercing blow that you're actually going to kill it. So go ahead.
So I run up and do as I said, going for the Achilles, and then realize it's going to stumble backwards onto my face if I do not get out of the way. I run between the legs, only to hop up on it as it falls down and just bury my axe in its brain. This itty bitty troll brain.
And it doesn't die for several minutes. It's just it's just completely useless. So it essentially falls still. Farstan, as you are swinging at it, Farstan runs up and jabs his blade into it, but it doesn't quite. But as he jabs, the tip of his sword actually breaks onto this troll's hide, and he looks at it kind of unwittingly. As Targon shakes his head, and he walks up and he'll say, he says, a few nights ago, I was thankful to have a wizard in our fellowship. Now I'm thankful that we have a dwarf. He will say, have you fought trolls before?
Occasionally, if we accidentally mine in the wrong direction. Sometimes we've opened up holes.
Should I ever find myself going into war against trolls, I would have you at my side any day.
Thank you.
And he will give a bow. So Miriam rushes over to Aranor. He is injured. He's like, Dania, how is this possible? The troll, something spooked our horses. It came out of nowhere. It was like it was laying in ambush for us. But how? Trolls are too dim-witted.
One of these days, it was sure to happen that you would meet a troll smarter than you, Aranor. Are you all right?
He tries to stand, so he is a game mechanics wise is something which is called wounded, which is different from your endurance. It's a kind of a status effect. If he takes another wound, he will be incapacitated and potentially dying. So he's injured, but he's going to live.
Brother?
He gives you an embrace, and you can't help but look around at the bodies to see if Aranath is amongst them, but you don't see him right off the bat.
Good. Wait, right off the bat. Okay.
I mean, there's bodies around. I mean, how concerned are you when you're looking at the bodies?
If Aranor is standing and not on the brink of death,
no, he's up on his feet, and Miriam is helping him. He's recovered his sword.
I will search the rest of the bodies, making sure to close their eyes.
Yep.
That sort of thing. I'm sure I know most of these men, so.
Yeah, you probably do. Aranor. So out of curiosity, I mean, it's up to you whether or not you actually have a history with Aranath. You appear to have a little bit of a crush on him. Does it go back, or is it really just since he gave you the dagger?
It's more like I've noticed him in my brother's company, but it's never been we've chatted each other up.
So he will actually say to your Aranor, he goes, all dead save Aranath. I pray that he has come to no ill end. He was ahead of us scouting, but obviously did not see the troll. You returned from Rivendell.
Yes.
Elrond is not with you?
No. His lady wife joined us, but we were separated. We hope to join up with her again soon.
Alatar, in this moment, you notice that the air turns chill like ice.
Looking around, can I see anything untoward?
You can look around, like you scan the surrounding hills, the valleys, the rocks, the shadows. You look once, you see nothing, but as your gaze comes back, something dark moves out of the shadows, not just one, in different locations, step out of the shadows towards your group. Can you see that okay?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you see 3 dark forms step from the shadows, their dull blades held at the ready. They'll actually salute as they step out. They bring their blades up. You can see that Targon immediately brings his blade up, but for the first time, and he's surprised by it, as he brings his blade up, his hand is shaking, and he kind of, he concentrates and stops it. Miriam as well. Farstan doesn't even raise his sword. He literally just falls to his knees, unmoving. He cannot move. As you feel the weight of these things, everybody is going to take 2 shadow as they step forward.
And how far away are they?
They are basically 50 paces away. There's 3 of them, one in front, one to the left. Well, they probably step out of different shadows and then converge together. And a voice from the central one hisses. It's like, "We have come for your prince, for the prince. Your powers cannot stop us, wizard." And the 2 behind it let out a shriek, and you feel their you just feel their the evil, the shadow coming from them. In fact, even Miriam and Targon, in fact, all of you, unless you want to spend a hope, you're going to have to start stepping. Like you're stepping backwards as they approach.
I was going to say, I think I'd have called out within a couple of seconds for everyone to be getting on their horses and for us to try and.
The horses are just they're unmoving. They're fixated. You feel hope draining, wizard, as the shadow of these things approach. I'm not really sure what's going to save you here, to be honest, as the GM. But the 3 of the 9 step forward. Perhaps your only hope is to throw Aranor to them. They want the prince. They want the heir of Arvedui. So do you want to try and stand? So is anyone going to spend a hope to actually
I will spend a hope. I'm not, I'm going to stand between them and my brother.
So if you want to stand,
dumb troll hunting brother.
You must spend a hope. Fenja, are you spending a hope?
Yes.
And you can see Aranor himself you've never seen your brother afraid, but he is afraid. And as these things advance, you hold your ground, you ready your steel as you feel the doom approaching, when suddenly Targon steps forward of Gondor. He steps in front of you all, so he's going to spend 2 hope. He steps forward, and even though there's a shaking of his voice, he speaks with authority, and he will say, "You are mistaken, creatures of shadow." And his voice, there is a sadness in his voice. He'll say, "Aranor is not Prince, son of Arvedui. He is my son, Targon of Gondor. He is not Isildur's heir. He is mine." And with that, we fade to black for tonight. Sorry, Luca. No, but look.
Oh!
We have to leave.
Oh!
Okay. Scandalous.
Nazgul like swab his mouth.
You do my voice.
Paternity test. We all shift to Maury next episode.
So we will pick up here. You'll be facing off against 3 of the Nazgul. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'll leave it over to you. But Celebrian will return, maybe at a fortuitous moment, but otherwise it will be on you to survive this encounter.
Dania, your mum's a minx.
Sole heir of Isildur Dania of. But don't forget, I gave you items. You have the Ring of Barrows here, the Sword of Mithril. Celebrian, she's not here, but she has the tiara.
And we have a wizard.
If you want in chat, if you want to know what happens, you're going to have to tune in 2 weeks. So I guess we'll go around and say our farewells. I guess will we go in reverse order that we came in? So Harrison.
Yes, I am Harrison. I played Alatar. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch as Harrison_stream.
Hello, it's me, CorndoggMcGraw. I played Fenja Runeforge, daughter of Borin, who, we're Duron's folk. We're dwarves. And you can catch me here, not this Thursday, but the next Thursday, for more Tiamat bullshit. I don't know. I want to fight her real bad. That's what I do now. I just want to punch her in her face.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Lukalock. I was playing Dania tonight. And you can catch me next on Tuesday running Harper investigations. And then I will be back on the 13th for our City of Mist campaign. Madness Calls It Forth. And then other than that, just check out the schedule on our website to find what else I am in, or just find me as Lukalock everywhere. That's it for me, Phzoul.
Awesome. Thank you to the great cast tonight. It's always a pleasure to be the lore master for this group. So I'm Phzoul. I'm back. We're back in 2 weeks. I believe we're sticking to the earlier time, so an hour earlier than normal. So I think it's like I don't know. It's 8 p.m. my time. Was it 4 p.m. Pacific or something like that?
4 p.m. Pacific. Yep.
Thank you, chat. Obviously, you're a big part of the reason why we do this. Just so you know, you'll notice there's a lot of pictures. So I have a lot of pictures, and for this actual campaign, I've written up these adventures almost. I've kind of written my notes up, so I have a lot of notes. If you are interested, those will be available on Patreon. I think you can support TPK on Patreon for as little as I don't know, it's like a couple of bucks, which isn't too much, and you'll get access to all of those GM notes, and that goes to really help staff do the wonderful videos like Proper Nerdy and Kaiya. They put together that video that you saw at the beginning. It really helps support the stream. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope we will see you in 2 weeks. But goodbye for now. Stay safe.